Hello to all my friends out there. This video is to go over the morning work for day 3 for this week. So hopefully you already did it. And now I'm just going to go over and model how to solve each problem. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with the first question, which is a word problem. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read it and underline my notes, because even though it's on the morning work, we still want to use the read, draw, write process. So the movie theater has 500 seats. Miss Avery's class takes 33 seats and Miss Hamilton's class takes 27 seats. How many seats are left for Mr. Daniel's class? Well, the first thing I know when I look at this is that Miss Avery's, or the movie theater, has 500 seats. So I'm going to underline that. I also know that Miss Avery's class has 33 seats and Miss Hamilton's class takes 27 seats. And what I have to find out is how many seats are left for Mr. Daniel's class. Well, when I think about this, I think about a movie theater with 500 seats. That's one great big group. And then 33 seats, or part of that will be taken up by Miss Avery's class. 27 seats, or part of it will be taken up by Miss Hamilton's class. And then the rest will be left for Mr. Daniel's class. So I can draw a picture of this. And when I think of this, I think of part, whole. So 500 is the total seats in the theater. The first part will represent Miss Avery's class, the next part will represent Miss Hamilton's class, and the last part will represent Mr. Daniel's class. Now I can put my other knowns in there. Miss Avery's class takes 33 seats, Miss Hamilton's class takes 27 seats, and then this is my unknown. So if you remember how we do this, it's hard to work with a 3-part number bond, but it's easy if we turn it into a 2-part number bond, and we can do that simply by putting these 2 parts together. And when we put things together, what do? We add. So 33 plus 27, add our ones, we get 10, we regroup, we got 3, 4, 5, 6 is 60. I'm going to put my 60 right in there. What does 60 represent then? It represents the total of Mrs. Avery's and Miss Hamilton's class. Now, remember, I need to know how many seats are left over for Mr. Daniel's class. So now I've got 60 in this part, and I've got this part that's unknown. And remember what we do then is we need to do a subtraction problem. So 500 minus 60. Now this is regrouping across zeros, so it can be tricky. But if I start with the ones place, it's not too bad. 0 ones minus 0 ones is 0 ones. Now I want to subtract the tens, and I say to myself, I can't take 6 tens from no tens. So I have to unbundle. I'm going to go over to the hundreds place, and I will unbundle 100, which will leave me with 4 hundreds. And then the good news is I will now have 10 tens. I didn't have any, but now I have 10. So 10 tens minus 6 is 4 tens. And then I go back to my hundreds and finish that off. 4 minus nothing is 4. So there are 440 seats left for Mr. Daniel's class. Remember to dress up your numbers. So you want to write 440 seats. So this would be 440 right here. Okay, the next problem is a simple algorithm. Remember, on Seesaw, you can write your work anywhere in the white space that surrounds the template or on the template itself. I'm going to try to be neat here and put it in this box, but you do not have to do that. So 444 plus 279, make sure you pay attention to the sign they're using. Sometimes we automatically think addition when it's a subtraction problem or vice versa. This one we are adding. So I start with my ones. 4 ones plus 9 ones is 13 ones. I put down the 3 and I have to regroup the 1 into the tens place. Now I'm going to add my tens. 4 tens plus 1 10 is 5 tens plus 7 tens makes 12 tens. Well, what is 12 tens really? It is 100 and 2 tens. And now last but not least, I add my hundreds. So 400s plus 100 is 500s plus 2 more is 700. So my answer there is 723 for that algorithm. Okay, let's move on to the word problem involving money. It says Yolanda has $2.16, so I'm going to underline that. Ruby gives Yolanda 3 dimes and 4 pennies. So that's what she gives her, that much money. How much money does Yolanda have more? So Yolanda has some money. Ruby gives her more money. So I have to add the money that Yolanda had to the money that Ruby gives her. She's getting more money. So what I like to do is I like to count on. So I'm starting with 216 is what Yolanda has. And then I've got to count on 3 dimes. Well, that's 10 cents a piece. Each dime is 10 cents. So if I count on 1 dime, I'll be at 226. If I count on another dime, that's 2 dimes, I'll be at 236. And if I count on 1 more dime, I'll be at 246. Now I'm at $2.46. I've added 1, 2, 3 dimes. Okay, now I have to count on 4 pennies. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start with 246. I'm going to add 1 penny. I'll be at 247. I'm going to add another penny. I'll be at 248. Add another penny. I'll be at 249. That's 3 pennies. I need 1 more penny. And 249 plus 1 penny will be 250. So how much money does Yolanda have now? She has $2.50 now. Make sure you write it with the dollar sign because it is money. And remember, it's weird. The dollar sign goes in front of money, even though we say it afterwards. Okay. Now, the last problem is round each number to the nearest 10 and then add. So it's really important that we know this is 2 steps. The first step is rounding each number to the nearest 10, and the second step is to then add. Now, it's really important that we underline nearest 10 because sometimes they ask us to round to the nearest 100, and sometimes they ask us to round to the nearest 10. In this problem, they're asking us to round to the nearest 10. So I look at 491 and I say, how many 10s are in there? Well, it looks like there's 9 10s, but really those 400s are also 10s. There's really 49 10s in 491. So if I put that on my number line, 49 10s is written 490. If I add 1 10 to that, I will be at 500. Okay, what is halfway between 490 and 500? 495. All right, and that is what we call skip counting by tens. Where will 491 go? Oh my goodness, it's way down here right by 490. And so it's really clear that 491 is really close to 490. It's not really even close to 500 at all. So you would write 490 above here. Okay. And at this point, you might be able to do that in your head. Think 491, geez, it's 1 off from 490. Now, it would be different if they were asking us to round to the nearest 100, though. Then we would have on our number line 400 and 500, and we would get a completely different answer. Okay, the next number is 203. How many 10s are in that? First glance, it looks like there's 0, but remember those 200s are also 10s that we have to remember. So there's really 20 10s in 203. How do we write 20 10s? We write it as 200. 1 more 100 after 200 is 210. If we were skip counting by 10s. Halfway would be 205. And now we've got to plot 203 on there. 203 is going to be somewhere between 200 and 205, probably right around there. It doesn't have to be real accurate. And what is 203 closest to? Well, it's closer to 200. It's also below the midpoint, so we would round that to 200. 200 plus 490 gives us 690. So remember, when it's asking you an about, it never wants you to find an actual answer. It just wants you to round both numbers and then add them. Okay, I hope you found that helpful, boys and girls.